Hi, everybody. I wanted to record a quick demonstration video for your presentations on Tuesdays. So this is your 6-minute talk plus Q&A. So I want to give you an example of how I think this could go. Obviously, I'm using research that's closer to what I know exactly because I haven't been doing the research exactly with you all semester. But hopefully this will give you an idea of how to do that introduction and how to do the conclusion. I know you know how to do the middle part, talking about your data, but now we're entering a different skill set, talking about um, how to present an introduction and how to present your conclusion. And these are important pieces that you want to practice. So here goes. Hi, everybody. My name is Jess Pearson, and I'd like to talk to you about purple loosestrife and why climate change is going to make it an issue. So, I first moved back to the North Country after I finished my graduate work, and I saw how wetlands look different. And I know there was a plant that was beautiful that I needed to understand why it was a problem as well. So, it's a big problem because it really has this invasive quality that ruins wetlands. And this is something that we all need to pay attention to because it can grow almost anywhere and that it's going to affect everybody's future, especially connected to wetlands and climate change. So what I'm going to talk about today will be making sure you understand the difference between native and invasive species, why that's important, and then how purple loosestrife specifically threatens wetlands and ecosystems, and why that's going to be worse under climate change. What is the bigger issue under for society as this goes on? And then how can we adapt? What do we need to do to deal with this? My thesis is that purple loosestrife can be controlled specifically with a biological control to mitigate the effects of its invasiveness, especially under climate change. So purple loosestrife is an invasive species. It was introduced in the mid-1800s, specifically to New York State in the 1960s. But what makes it invasive? It doesn't have any natural predators, and the threats it creates to the ecosystem have no way of being balanced. They are, unlike a native species, they evolved with natural predators and a balance in the ecosystem. So why does this matter for wetlands? Purple loosestrife will grow anywhere, but it's preferential to wetlands. And it's specifically based on its biology, it grows these woody roots that can really start to push out the water of a wetland. So you can think of it as drying it up or pushing the water out. Either way, you end up with a much drier wetland. And this becomes a huge issue for wetland habitat because climate change is going to make a little bit of everything drier, especially in the North Country with the unpredictable nature of increased rain. So we need these wetlands as a buffer against that. They need to be functioning so they can prevent flooding and allow all of this excess water, unpredictable water, to be absorbed. So what does this mean for society in terms of losing these wetlands if we allow purple loosestrife to grow unimpeded? It's going to lower biodiversity if we lose that wetland habitat, especially the variety of wetlands, slightly upland, slightly lowland, along a water as a lake area with wetlands around the edges. It's that transitional zone. It will lead to reduced hunting for humans in the area as migratory birds really don't have a chance to get through the whole area. And it will make the North Country much more vulnerable to climate change. We won't have this amazing ecosystem service provided by wetlands if we allow purple loosestrife to continue to grow in this area. So what can we do? How do we adapt to this? Removing purple loosestrife completely and stopping climate change are not really viable options. So we have to learn how to adapt. What can we do and what weapons do we have to fight back? And the biggest one is looking back at our understanding of the ecology and biology of the species. They have natural predators in their native ecosystem. And so if we can introduce those, which Bernd Blassi has done a lot down at Cornell with his researchers, there is a danger of introducing another invader, but it is a low-cost option. Once the beetles are here, they're going to grow mostly by themselves. One other issue that we can control some was a study done by Wilcox in the late 80s, early 90s, looking at the mowing along the New York State Thruway. And he really found that it wasn't spreading from farther away, it was spreading along the highway. So there's a lot in there that we really need to be careful how we go about mowing. So we have two strategies that could really help us adapt to this invasion and prevent the secondary effects from climate change. So what else do we need to be able to do for this? We still have a chance. There is some limit to the research because we don't know how much road salt gets involved in this and creates these roadside habitats that are really unfavorable to native species, opening the door to purple loosestrife. But we do have a chance. We have a reasonable option because invasive species management follows a pattern. We've missed the prevention, we've missed the eradication stage, but now we're really into that strong control and manage option. And so looking at citizen science and monitoring are solid options. To review what we've talked about, purple loosestrife is invasive because it doesn't really have anything to control it if we don't introduce this control. This is going to be a big threat to wetlands, specifically in the North Country, to wetland biodiversity and to society, especially under climate change when we need those wetlands to help us not be vulnerable to erratic weather patterns and to absorb any flooding issues. And then ultimately, we can adapt by introducing a biological control and figuring out how best to study the weather patterns, study the invasive patterns, sorry. So I want to thank you for listening, and I'm happy to take any questions. So that's essentially how I would want you to do the introduction, the supporting evidence, and the conclusion. So there's pictures in there. I took all of the pictures that are listed, so I don't have to put um, credits on them, but you should put credits. You saw throughout there were references for all the information in there. And while I did speak very quickly, I'm hoping it was still an even pacing. And obviously I can't do the Q&A with you here, but hopefully that was helpful to see an example of how to do this.